are the best staples and hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Today, big dog, we're gonna be doing something that no one has ever done before. Except, I did it a couple months ago. We are going to be reassessing the best staples and hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh. Big dogs, I know that I said hand trap Yu-Gi-Oh cards are doing bad right now, like down bad. But you should still know why these cards are doing bad and why some are still thriving. The same with staple cards, because they going up. Let's go ahead and talk about them, and let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with y'all, big dogs? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. One of my students say that I talk like an anime character, so I thought I'd try that one. Today, big dogs, we are going to be updating you on the best staples and hand traps in the game. The Yu-Gi-Oh metagame no longer revolves around cards like Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence. Right now in Yu-Gi-Oh, your hand trap or your card effects need to be able to hit them and hit them hard, no diddy. It needs to either have a long-lasting impact for the duration of the turn, or be able to stop those long-lasting impact card effects, or just hit critical junctures. And speaking of critical junctures, I know it's going to be critical for your Yu-Gi-Oh card needs. The Raven Wing sleeves and Nehad. These are hands down easily tier 0 sleeves, the best sleeves on the market. And the only place you can get them for right now is TheCaliEffect.com. We also have some of the best accessories on the entire planet, so be sure to check that out too. Let me know when your retail store wants to carry them. Go ahead, big dogs, and purchase your sleeves and accessories today, but let's go ahead and start off with the hand traps. The effect negators are in a really wonky spot, with Infinite Impermanence being in really good, Effect Veiler being in situational, Herald of the Orange Light being a must play, of course, if you can play it, and lastly, Ghost Mourner being in hand trap Into the Abyss. I think hands down, this is one of the very first times in Yu-Gi-Oh where Infinite Impermanence isn't powerful. And the reason why is because single lines of negation isn't as powerful as they used to be. Using an Infinite Impermanence against a deck like Raizio Mitsurugi or Malice pretty much means that a lot of times they'll still end on the same board. Don't get me wrong, the card is still incredibly good against most Yu-Gi-Oh strategies, but at the higher levels of competition, it 100% struggles. Effect Veiler is in even a worse position right now. Not only is it restricted just to the main phase 1, it's also a card that can feel like hand looping yourself. It's a really huge reason why statistically most Yu-Gi-Oh strategies have dropped their effect negation cards like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler. It's simply because they just aren't powerful enough, and that's why Ghost Mourner is hand trap Into the Abyss. Unfortunately, she's worse than both Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler. Now, Herald of Orange Light is good because not only does it negate the monster effect, it actually gets rid of the card. But the problem is finding decks that Herald of Orange Light can be played in. Strategies like Purely or Melodious are some that comes to mind, but there aren't too many Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that can take advantage of this card. But if you do find yourself with the strategy that can use this card, you probably should be using this card in every single deck list. Next are our bomb hand trap cards, cards that can make a huge impact and shift the game into your favor. We have Droll, Nibiru, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, as well as Dimension Shifter. Droll and Lockbird will be a must-play Yu-Gi-Oh card. Nibiru the Primal Being is really good. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is not a terrible card, but at best would be sideworthy. And Dimension Shifter, hand trap Into the Abyss. I find it pretty ironic that my prediction has came true. Dimension Shifter is simply not worth playing when it's limited to 1. You have roughly about an 11% chance of opening it in your starting hand, and you also even have a lower chance of the card being effective against decks, especially when strategies like Malice are some of the best decks in the game. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood has been popping up in players' deck list, which I don't think is bad, but ultimately is a time Yu-Gi-Oh card overall. In theory, it can prevent you from losing a game every single time though. Now, Nib and Droll are two different animals. Nibiru the Primal Being oftentimes can end your opponent's turn. On top of that, Omni Negation cards aren't as prevalent as they once were before, so you should strongly consider playing Nibiru the Primal Being. Droll Lockbird is almost a must-play Yu-Gi-Oh card because not only does it stop a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies in the tracks, the best decks in the game search multiple times, it also can stop you from being charming, which in my opinion is strong enough to consider playing inside of your main deck, if not in your side deck. Next we have the Molcharmy cards, and easily, Molcharmy Flawless is a must-play. Molcharmy Meows is sideworthy and Molcharmy Perulia is really good. This is a slightly different change from our last Staples tier list. Molcharmy Flawless against most Yu-Gi-Oh decks simply equates to at least draw 2 cards, which is a pot of greed, and you know how players goon for pot of greed. Heh. I broke the handle, but heh. Molcharmy Perulia is slightly different. The card is crazy against both Yugioh and Malice, but against other Yu-Gi-Oh decks, you're genuinely taking a chance. I think the theory is there. A lot of times you're at least going to be able to draw 1 card back when your opponent normal summons, but one thing you also have to consider is the card completely dead inside of your deck when you're going first? And can you use these cards for better resources? Molcharmy Meows is strictly just a side deck Yu-Gi-Oh card. I don't see too many strategies playing it inside of the main board, and it's for fair reason. There's not too many situations where you'd want to play this card over Perulia and Flawless, and keep in mind, you can only activate 2 Charmy cards per turn. From here, we have the high impact hand traps, and these get a lot shaky too. I think for the first time in a very long time, Ash Blossom is just really good. Dominus Purge is going to follow suit, Dominus Impulse is a must play, and Ghost Ogre is simply a side-worthy Yu-Gi-Oh card. Some pretty big changes here. Ash Blossom is still a card that you can mainboard in every single one of your Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. That is still very much true. And Ash Blossom is also a card that can be activated against every single Yu-Gi-Oh strategy in the game. But the thing that we're debating here is impact. Ash Blossom's impact has dwindled from being a card that can potentially end turns to being a card that can just be a minor convenience to a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. And that is genuinely reflected on Ash Blossom's play. Players have been dropping this card or just sidewarding the card despite there being Molcharmy cards in the format and this card being able to stop it. I want to be 1000% clear with you, big dog. I am not telling you to cut Ash Blossom out of every single one of your decks, but I want you to understand the importance and the relationships that these cards have against some of the best decks in the game. That way you can make a more informed decision when it comes to being able to build your deck, which is the difference between winning and losing games. Dominus Purge is pretty much at the exact same spot. Hell, Blue Eyes is a deck that can use Purge and they don't even play it half the time. Ghost Ogre, while I still think it's pretty strong, I think it has to be paired with other hand traps to be effective. And Dominus Impulse is literally Solemn Warning, so it's strong enough to be a must play if you can play it. In fact, the strategies that can't play it are playing Solemn Warning, just to let you know how impactful this card can be. From here, we have our Graveyard Regulators. Psycho Reader, Crow, Ghost Bell, Meister, and Bestials. Psycho Reader is situational alongside of DD Crow. These cards are not bad whatsoever, but I would actually give an edge on DD Crow. It's simply because while there are light strategies that Psycho Reader can kill, there's also a lot of dark strategies or other cards that DD Crow could offer versatility to, but you have to be playing the right deck for these 2 cards. I think Ghost Bell is sideworthy and Skullmeister is also situational. The Bestials, well, the Bestials are of course situational as well. Now I do genuinely want to point out that neither Psycho Reader or DD Crow are bad. In fact, you can find them in side decks. Players just haven't been citing them as much, is simply because they don't do enough in this game right now. The game has become hyper combo centric, where just one point of interaction isn't enough. You're going to need the right particular strategy paired with these cards to see more success with them. The Bestial monsters are pretty much the same. I think the Bestial monsters would benefit best inside of a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy where you can banish your own cards and gain effects, particularly maybe a dragon or a Primite type Yu-Gi-Oh deck, something that plays along the Bestial cards because they are good against Mitsurugi and Malice, considering that you have Branded Regained. Now from here, we have quite the bit of summonables. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 summonable monsters that are hand traps. Those cards just happen to be Artifact Lancia, Chaos Hunter, Contact Sea, Retaliating Sea, the Psy-Frame cards, and Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Lancia is easily sideworthy alongside of Chaos Hunter. I shouldn't have to say it, Malice, but that's the reason why they're so good. I'm gonna say both Contact C and Retaliating C are bunk right now. Gamma and Delta, I also wouldn't tell you to play these cards, and Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, 100% side-worthy. Now let's go ahead and talk about these bottom row of cards, the Contact Cs and the Gammas. Okay, so a little bit of rewind. Retaliating C can be really good against Mitsurugi, almost insane against them. They activate a spell card, the ritual summon, you summon this card, cook 'em. But I personally don't think that that's enough to justify playing this card right now. It has so much potential for the future. Contact C may seem really good, but Link monsters unfortunately exist. And even decks like Yugioh Mitsurugi play Link monsters to get rid of this card. You also need to have this card in the opening turn. I'd rather just have a Molcharmy at this point in time. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme is an incredibly good side deck card. Not only is it great against Malice, the targeting protection actually can come up. It's a solid card. Lastly, for the hand traps, we have our miscellaneous cards, which I'm not even gonna lie to you, all of them pretty much go into the shadow realm here. None of them are particularly good. Now, there is still probably that Yu-Gi-Oh player that is screaming from the heavens that Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is underrated. The only problem with that is that there is a new card called Metaronis, which kind of defeats the entire purpose of the card. It doesn't require your opponent to have 2 more monsters than you, and it can be activated when you draw it as your 6th card. It also has the versatility to be used for multiple things, so I think that that argument is completely out the window. Now that we're done with the hand traps, I have one closing statement about them. Hand traps are in a tough spot right now. The old methods that we use to be able to stop some of the top tier decks no longer work. I think that that's a bad thing and a good thing at the same time. It forces Yu-Gi-Oh players and the game itself to evolve, but on the flip side, it feels hyper overpowered, and if you're playing a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that can't keep up, well, you're losing. Unless you decide to play board breakers, which are actually doing pretty well right now. Staple Yu-Gi-Oh cards also come in the form of board breakers, and I think it's best to start talking about how spell and trap removal can impact your game. Our first group of cards are Cosmic Cyclone, Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Twin Twisters. While Cosmic Cyclone and Twin Twisters are close to staple those divorce papers together, Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Dusters are top staples. Really interesting to see the dichotomy of these two cards, and I don't think that Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twisters are really that bad. The only problem with them is that one of them only destroys 1 card and the other one requires you a discard, which is not really something you want to do. On top of that, it only destroys 2 cards. That actually can come up. Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster are crazy strong Yu-Gi-Oh cards because a lot of the top decks in the game are fake tough guys. They summon these really strong monster boards, but they have a lot of back row, and that's really the aggressive part of the deck. Using these to be able to clear those cards makes your way to winning the game a lot easier. And Lightning Storm can also hit monsters too. Who would have guessed, right? From here are the monster interaction cards, and we have quite the few. The Forbidden series makes this list with Droplet, Chalice, and Lance, as well as Dark Ruler No More. Forbidden Droplet is incredibly playable right now alongside of Dark Ruler No More, and Forbidden Chalice alongside of Lance are situational. Really crazy. The thing about this is that Forbidden Droplet is incredible at not only escaping certain card effects, but negating your opponent's entire board, which is something that you should focus on. Dark Ruler No More is very playable right now because decks like Yugioh, they have those fake tough boards. These 2 cards literally take care of their entire board, and since Dark Ruler No More negates their monster effects, they can't Charmy you. Break their board with ease because a lot of them aren't playing a ton of hand traps. If we're talking about Black Goat Laughs, I think that this card is also incredibly good right now. Being able to stop certain monster effects or certain cards at any given point in time is crazy strong. It does have to be in the right deck, like maybe Labyrinth or a White Forest deck, something that can take advantage of its graveyard effect as fast as possible, but it's still really, really good. The Monster Interruption team is pretty good. One thing I want to say about Forbidden Chalice and Forbidden Lance, the only problem with Chalice is that it is one singular point of interaction. Like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler, it can negate 1 monster effect, and it also does have the benefit of being chained to other cards, but that really doesn't matter when you have cards like Yugioh Detonator, or you have the effects of your Mitsurugi cards in graveyard, or your Malice monsters summoned by activating themselves from the graveyard, or your Fiendsmith Desiree can't be targeted. Holy. I think Forbidden Lance is a crazy strong Yu-Gi-Oh card, but I'm not sure if there's many decks that can play it. It can make your opponent's monsters unaffected by Dark Ruler No More, Droplets if they don't discard a spell, and Lightning Storm, but It seems like way too much of a situation. The monster removal / solemn cards is where we start to get serious here. Solemn Judgment? Solemn Strike? Oh my god, sideworthy. In fact, we're actually missing a card. Solemn Warning is actually sideworthy too. The Solemn cards are absolutely insane. Whether you're using Solemn Judgment to be able to stop an opponent's Harpy's Feather Duster, Forbidden Droplet, Dark Ruler No More, or you're using Solemn Strike to stop an opponent's Molcharmy card or extra deck summon, Solemn Warning fits the conversation too. You see, while people were figuring out that Dominus Impulse was one of the strongest cards in the game, I was sitting there in the lab, giving you guys the information that if you can't afford Dominus Impulses, this is a crazy strong Yu-Gi-Oh card, except it might be slightly better. You see, Dominus Impulse can only stop card effects that special summon. Solemn Warning can stop cards that are summoned and stop special summons. It can stop your opponent's normal summon like Yugioh Ice or a Malice monster, and it can also stop those spell cards or effects that summon like the Malice monsters in the graveyard or the Eclipse Twin. It is low-key a crazy, underrated Solemn card, why people still look at Strike and Warning to this day. Dino Wrestler Pankratops, 1 point of interaction, so situational. Metal Ronus is the same thing, but evenly matched. Evenly matched is incredibly playable. To finish up our monster removal cards, Ultimate Slayer is also pretty playable, Super Polymerization is a top staple, and Raigeki? Holy, it's alright, it's pretty situational though. So hear me out, big dogs. A lot of times, when Dark Ruler No More is crazy, so is Evenly Matched. I mean, both cards, in theory, you have to give up your battle phase anyways. And most Yu-Gi-Oh strategies aren't playing a way to stop Evenly Matched. Using this card can permanently get rid of some card effects on your opponent's side of the field that they may never be able to get again. And that can be huge for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies here. Ultimate Slayer feels like it should be situational. It's a card that can respond to any given situation, but you do need your extra deck ready. Not necessarily a huge problem, because the same thing could be said for Super Polymerization, and players are getting really creative with Super Polymerization. I've seen players using Starving Venom Dragon, which really isn't out the park, but a card that players have been playing is World Chalice Guard Dragon Armorduke, and this card requires 3 Link monsters on the field. Malice players, you're getting cooked. Regardless, I think Super Polymerization is best in Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that have the extra deck space and don't mind the discard, because the discard can come up. Next, here we have it, the Kaiju monsters. I actually have to add a little bit more to this because we have to talk about these cards. Alpha Master of the Beast is easily staple those divorce papers together alongside of Gamseal. But if I were to talk about these 3 cards, I actually, whoa. Bold take. I think that Divine Incarnate Kara is sideworthy. I think that Sphere Mode and Lava Golem are just flat out situational. Now hear me out. The reason why I put Alpha Master of the Beast and Kaijus and staple those divorce papers together is that A, they're typically only single points of interaction, and B, Alpha can be responded to. Lava Golem and Sphere Mode are actually multiple points of interaction that solve a problem. But the big drawback here is that they require your normal summon. Almost non-negotiable cards when you put them in certain Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. Divine Incarnate Kara allows you to be able to get rid of monsters like Ryzeal Detonator, and can potentially special summon your opponent's monsters to your side of the field to do your bidding. I think that this card is on the cusp of situational to sideworthy. It can be a card that's really good, but what are you taking out to put this card in? If you're not putting it in your main deck, what cards are you taking out for your side deck? That's the really tough one, and why I can't rank Kara a lot higher. The book cards, I would say personally that Book of Eclipse is situational. Book of Moon's solid sideworthy. Book of Eclipse requires a little bit more of an investment, and while being a solid board breaker Yu-Gi-Oh card, in a lot of decks it doesn't get where you need to go. Book of Moon's ironic single point of interaction is good because you can use it on your own cards, and that's where the card comes up a lot. Granted, I also think that Book of Moon is on the cusp of situational alongside of Book of Eclipse. Both of these cards can either be here or they can be here. Call by the Grave is just very playable, which is kind of crazy. Mainly because if you put too much fear to the Molcharmy cards, you wind up losing the other cards. And while playing against hand traps, this card is genuinely only great against the Molcharmy cards. The other cards you can play around pretty easily. Change of Heart is another situational Yu-Gi-Oh card. You gotta find some really good value for this. And Triple Tactics Talent, or Triple Tactics Thrust, is sideworthy. I think that Triple Tactics Thrust works best in a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy where you can actually play a deck that has normal spell and trap cards that you can thrive off of. What I personally like to put Thrust inside of a deck is if it has like a normal spell card that's like a searcher card to get it deeper into the game, or if it has a trap card that's really, really powerful. Take, for example, Sword Soul. You can use it to search your Sword Soul emergence, but you also can use it to be able to set your Sword Soul trap card, whatever it's called. The Icarus attack card. Why is my head blanking on this? I played Sword Soul for years. Our last group of cards are Enemy Controller, which I think is a fairly good situational card. Triple Tactics Talent, which is very playable. Crossout Designator, which is... Crossout Designator. I'm gonna also put it in situational because, I mean, the limitation is crazy. And then there's your boy Sales Ban. This card's very, very, very playable. We're a little bit everywhere for our last 4 cards. Enemy Controller would be really good if you're using it to dodge effects and your card benefits from being tributed like Mitsurugi. Crossout Designator is only genuinely good when everybody's playing the same cards, which technically we are, but not really. It's really for the decks that lose to Trolling Lockbird right now. That's like its best place. Sales Ban is a ridiculously strong Yu-Gi-Oh card that can be used both offensively and defensively effective. And in fact, it's a card that I think you should be buying right now, but we'll talk about that later. And that's all that I have for the staples and hand traps tier list. My big dog, my editor, the guy that gets things going. If you can show all of our lovely players what the hand traps look like, the top head honchos in the game, all the way down to hand traps to the abyss, and then show us what the staples are looking like, the top tier staples to staple those divorce papers together. Click, click. Of course, big dog, if you guys want to see more amazing content, you guys already know what to do. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, but also be sure to check out these videos so I can catch you on the next one.